Alright guys, so with the release of the Michael movie, of course having all the success that it did this year, with the biopic making over $1 billion at the global box office, and now the talks of Michael 2, the second biopic, the sequel that's going to be releasing within the next 2 years. What a lot of people have been wondering, and a big reason why the critics tanked that first movie, is it never addressed Michael Jackson's child abuse allegations, right? It never addressed them. Obviously, this was a very controversial point in Michael's career and in Michael's life. And really, if you grew up in the early 2000s like I did, that's really a main thing that you knew about him, right? Like when you watched like Family Guy as a kid, for example, they were constantly making references or jokes to Michael Jackson around that time. So that just really sticks out in my head. And we're all wondering, well, is it ever going to be addressed if it wasn't addressed within that first movie, which of course ended with the Bad Tour. So that was before any allegations ever released. So really, I never really understood why the critics were that upset about it and tanked the entire biopic movie's rating over that not being included in the movie when it doesn't even fit the timeline that movie takes place. So let's go ahead and take a look at what, of course, the actor who plays Michael Jackson inside of the biopic, his nephew, Jafaar Jackson, has to say about these allegations in the upcoming sequel film. Alright, so Jafaar Jackson says Michael 2 will give even more insight into child abuse allegations from his point of view. I'm assuming from Michael's point of view, of course, that's his point of view. We got the entire biopic from really his perspective. I've seen some criticisms that, we really didn't get into like the nitty gritty of his family's perspective and more outlook on like the Jackson brothers, the other brothers in the family, right? But that really wasn't the point of the documentary. It's titled Michael for a reason. So everything was through the lens of Michael Jackson, and I thought it was done very, very well. I rated that movie very high on the channel. You could check out my movie review for Michael right here and go see what we had to say there in that video. But let's dive more into this topic, okay? Because it is very interesting, and now we of course do have official confirmation that we will be seeing that take place inside of the Michael 2 movie. And first things first, I want to say this is important, right? Because it was a big part of Michael's journey, of Michael's story. They did try to crucify him in that courtroom with these allegations and pretty much torch his entire career and entire legacy with this. I mean, this is stuff that you really don't come back from a majority of the time. If any time has that ever happened, has anyone ever came back from an allegation like this? Probably not. To my recollection, to my memory, and just me thinking right now, it's pretty much impossible to come back from, which is exactly why he got hit with this allegation, more than likely, right? Depending on your perspective on this entire scenario. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this comment that I seen under this post right here. That pretty much sums up a lot of what I want to say and a lot of what I want to see take place inside of this second movie. So we'll go ahead and read this right here. It says, from the media critic, hopefully in the movie they show that he was found not guilty in 2005 because people seem to forget that. And that's completely true. Okay, if you didn't know, yes, Michael did have an entire court case take place for these abuse allegations, with plenty of allegations and plenty of other different cases, all simultaneously hitting the king of pop, and he was found not guilty. For instance, here's some pictures on the screen for you guys right now of news clips from that era once the not guilty verdict did come out. So this one right here says jury's verdict on Jackson, not guilty, as you could see, Santa Barbara News Press from that time. And then here's another image on the screen for you right here, not guilty on all account, the New York Times, Michael Jackson acquitted of 10 felony charges. So they hit him with 10 felony charges at once. Like I said, they wanted to drown him inside that courtroom and make it pretty much impossible to ever recover from this, but he ended up being acquitted of all 10 charges. But what's so damning about an allegation like this is, like I said, you really don't come back from it, because that stain is on your name, on your legacy, and on your career forever. All right, which is exactly, like I said, why, if you believe like me that more than likely he was not guilty of this, which is of course why he was acquitted on all charges, and that this was seemingly a music industry attack on Michael Jackson, for one, trying to buy up a lot of the other music industry due to how much money he managed to make throughout his career and started doing, good business and stuff like that behind the scenes, notoriously buying up the Beatles catalog, for example, and trying to get out of his deal under Sony, talking about, the label heads at that time putting a big campaign against him at that time, getting his album not properly displayed and marketed because of this. Like, there's a lot of history that goes into this, and I hope they dive into all of it. I hope they address it. Like I said, it's going to be, well, more specifically, like Jafaar Jackson said, it's going to be from Michael's perspective. So I think it could be very interesting. All right, it's a damning task to take on for this second movie. It's going to be very, very, very controversial. They managed to stay away from all that in the first movie because, like I said, it just didn't fit the timeline. But you know, the film did still touch on the abuse that happened to him at the hands of his father, Joe Jackson. In my opinion, they were very light with it. Like, they did showcase it, him getting that belt put on him, right, which happens in a lot of black households, but still, they didn't show how significant it actually was and how demonic that experience actually was for him, and what he's personally come out and said about that experience in interviews and stuff like that in the past. So they did like a Hollywood movie version of it where they kind of washed over it. They let you know, yes, this was taking place, but they didn't get too far into the details of the truly horrific details when it came to this. I think we could see something similar happening inside of this second movie, where yes, they address these allegations. They definitely show us him being acquitted of all this, but we don't dive so deeply and heavily into this, right? We're probably going to go more into the other half of his music career and things like that, his personal life, things like that. Of course, him having children of his own eventually, and everything leading up to his eventual death in 2009 at the age of 50 years old. So I am curious to see all of that take place. I don't think a trilogy is needed. I think we could, for the most part, sum the second half of Michael's life up. I mean, he only did live to 50, right? He died very young age. So I think they could sum all of that part of his life up in the second movie. I don't think a Michael 3 movie is going to be necessary, but we'll see, right, what the director Antoine Fuqua has in store for us. I'm expecting another generational performance out of Jafaar Jackson in this sequel. If anything, he'll even improve from that first movie now that he feels like, you know, he's gotten it down with the role in that film, and just step it up to an entirely different level here for the second movie. That's going to be amazing to see take place on the big screen. Can't wait to see that happen. But yeah, I just wanted to, you know, talk about it and address it because, like I said, the critics really had a huge problem with that. It's why this movie got review bombed right when it came out, which what more can we expect, right? Hollywood has been trying to tear down Michael for the entire end of his life and many, many years after. I mean, the man's been dead for damn near 2 decades and still so much like negative press and just negative things coming out about him. But considering that they are going to more than likely in the movie include that he was acquitted on all 10 charges, I have a feeling the critics are going to not like this one too, right? I have a feeling the review bombing is going to happen for this film too, so just strap in and be ready for that, just as it was with this first initial movie. But those are my thoughts on this Jafaar Jackson comment and sort of announcement that the child abuse allegations on Michael Jackson's name will be addressed in this second film. I'm curious to know your thoughts on this movie news down in the comment section down below. If you don't know what we do here on Demigod ENT, we do film, TV, and pop culture based content. So if you're interested in this type of content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.